Hello and welcome. Through my healing journey, I now know my emotional triggers. I was a little girl at the park, staring over at the blonde, blue-eyed little girl across from me, watching her dad push her on the swing and seeing her beaming smiles and her laughter, expressing so much happiness as her dad pushed her on the swing. I clearly remember the sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, even though I was only 5 years old. I was wondering why I could never experience my dad pushing me on the swing at the park. As a girl, we get a lot of our understanding for relationships and how things should be from a father-daughter relationship. So even at that young age, I was already basically internalizing that I was completely different. I know I'm not alone. That's basically why I decided to share this. My mom and dad had got divorced 4 years earlier, and at the time I was basically 1 year old, and he was present very few times in my life. So I definitely grew up without a father, and basically that helped me develop a huge father wound. If you're not sure really what it is that you have tremendous feelings of abandonment. And this, of course, amplifies all the feelings of unworthiness, unlove, simply not good enough. And when I would get into relationships, I would just basically wait for that other shoe to drop. I had such a huge, huge fear of abandonment. And subconsciously, I know that I expected, well, my partner will just leave anytime, I'll just prepare for it. And it was so familiar to me that I developed a sense of protecting myself, basically I just wouldn't let anyone in. I'd let you in maybe 20-30%, but not all the way in, not 100. There's just no way, right? And I basically developed this protection mechanism where it was just detachment. Like the minute things weren't going good, I just walk out the door, never look back, not for 10 seconds. It's like, no, I'm not going to get hurt. Not looking back, not at all. I didn't know what leaving and taking time to calm down and think rationally and then come back and try and work it out even meant. That was absurd to me. It was like, no, it's done. Yeah, there's a million more out there, right? And basically what it was my self-esteem and my self-worth were at an all-time low. And in started out probably teenage years, I was excessive drinking, excessively using drugs, and I just wanted to mask like how terrible I felt on the inside and all that unworthiness. I had no idea how to communicate in a healthy way and zero insight into how a man should treat a woman in a healthy relationship, as I had no example and I'd never observed it. So if something bothered me, I definitely wasn't healed at this time, so I would say absolutely nothing. And I would just bury that down, just shove it deep, deep down inside like we do, and just let that hurt fester, just like a sliver deep down in the skin. Eventually it'll work its way back up, right? And when it did come to the surface, it was just in a seething rage. And of course, everything came out wrong because I totally exploded. Usually after a few strong whiskeys, I would have the courage to say anything at all. And my lifelong pattern of relationships before my healing journey was to 100% blame everyone else and not myself, because it was always you. It was never ever me. And, about 2 years ago, I started this journey of a spiritual awakening where, all the ugly I had buried way down here just came up to the surface. I was dreaming it, I was seeing it, I was waking up crying. It was like, see me, see me, see me, face me, feel me, and then you can decide to let me go, right? And I learned that my father's stepdad abused him, and my father had never experienced love. So how would you possibly think you can give any love when you don't even know what it is? And, it's just, you can't give what you haven't received, right? And through a lot of inner child healing, I was able to forgive my father. Basically, it was on his deathbed. And it was the hardest thing. I had so much hatred for this man, a lifetime of hatred, right? And I also know that I have a very anxious attachment style. And if you don't know what that is, it means I can be triggered, and those feelings of unworthy and unlovable and abandonment can just come rising to the surface, right? I've worked on it, but it still comes up. And once you know your attachment style, awareness is the key, right? And you need to explain to your partner that I'm an anxious attachment style, and I can still be triggered, right? We're just human, but it's easier to convey those emotional triggers if that person knows what they are, what you're like. For me, anxious attachment is, if you're working, that's fine, I get that. But other times, if I text you and it takes you 3 days to get back to me, well, you're going to trigger my anxious attachment, right? It goes right back to that unworthy, unlove, abandonment. Or if, we make plans and all of a sudden now you have no time for me, that's a trigger, right? And I think having awareness of my triggers gives me the power, whether I choose to simply be aware, okay, I feel a bit triggered, I'm aware of it, but I'm not going to give them any attention. I'm just going to let them pass by. I'm fine, right? Or maybe I choose to be like, I'm just going to emotionally charge them because I'm pissed off now, and I'm going to take it from 0 to 1,000 in 10 seconds. So this is my sign of growth as a person, is just being aware of the triggers, right? And for me, I cultivated self-love through a lot of mentors that I've had, and the number one that I love is Louise Hay. Like, I've done daily affirmations for a little bit more than 2 years now, and I know that I am very worthy and very lovable. And it was a journey. It was a journey and a half to get to this point, because you're looking at someone that used to hate herself with everything she had, right? And I'm just here to tell you that anyone can do this work and you can get to this point, right? I've invested so much time, effort, and energy in myself, but it was so absolutely worth it, right? Like, I am the best version of me. And sitting here right now, I love and complete and totally love myself. All is well. Have a great day.